Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. Journey continues today on March 12th, 2023. Oh, that was just wrong. At approximately 4:22 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this planet for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I call myself a spiritual guide because the tools that I offer are the ones I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones that I personally live by. For me, this is not just a question of here's an idea that you should look at. This is a question of here's an idea that I live by, and it's working for me for the most part. There are things that don't work out quite as well as I'd like, but hey, what the heck? But right off the bat, we have Dogface in here with the gold. Adam, welcome aboard with the silver. And Nathan is in with the bronze. Just to be clear, guys, yesterday was a little bit of a scramble job. I had a family situation I had to deal with. I've got it worked out as far as I can until tomorrow. Okay, but health-wise, I'm doing fine. And yeah, I know quite often my health does all sorts of really screwy things. But with that in mind, I figured I best get back on track here. So, as you guys know, this is Sunday, which means two things happen. Well, let's see if I've got this file up. That one should be up. Nathan, where are you? Here we go. Nathan with the Quantum Show. This is the link to his channel. Absolutely drop in, have a listen. If you like what he says, give him a thumbs up, and certainly subscribe to his channel. I have to go. I do. What am I going? There we go. Well, yeah, but then Nathan, we appreciate you dropping by. That's for certain. Working's one of those things that you just kind of have to deal with. But I figure this is an open topic, meaning whatever question you have, whatever field you have it in, absolutely drop me a line. Put your questions in all caps in the chat room. That way, it's kind of like waving your hand and saying, "Hey, can I get an answer to this?" It is not called yelling, at least not in this chat room. Okay. But, we were supposed to be looking into something yesterday. Just double checking what was supposed to be on the schedule. Oh, yes. The quantum realm and the subquantum realm. Okay. Because what we have to remember here is that, and this is really Nathan's area. So I'm not going to delve too much into it, but I certainly suggest you look in and that you pop into his site when he's on. Okay, and absolutely, Nathan, if you want to let people know what time your show is on, that would be great. Okay, because I'm pretty certain that would be beneficial on your end. I know it would be beneficial on theirs. I was supposed to go into a full run on it, but what I've had to do is because things got a little screwy. There we go. Nathan's show is on from. There we are. Nathan's show comes on Saturday, 9 p.m. Central Time, which really works out to 7 p.m. Pacific Time, which works out even better when you think about it, because it means on Saturday, 1 hour after, a half hour after this stream gets finished, you can jump right over into Nathan's and see where things go there. it also means that assuming my life doesn't get completely scrambled, it means that I can actually drop in without losing a whole lot of time. Of course, that depends on how tired I've gotten. Because sometimes that can be a bit of a that can be a bit of a shambles. But I do like looking at the creative side of things in order to make things happen. And a lot of these creatures I deal with, a lot of the figures I deal with, of course, as we know, when you know it. Forgot to bring that with me. So this will take me not but half a minute here, but I will be right back. A little hard to putter around with painting if you don't actually bring the paint pen. But I figured I'd get some of that racked off. And what do we got here? Hey, Henry, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And what do we got? And Henry, you did make it in. You did make it. What are we dealing with, Henry? Yes. You make it in with honorable mention, and then I step out of the room for a half minute. And Hank, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Trust things are going well for you. But I figured I should get some of this sorted around. But I've been working on just waiting for somebody to show up. But that being said, working on tying off a few figures I've got, not the least of which is that one. This guy I've got very little left to do on, so I'll be finishing him off in all likelihood tonight. Yeah, he's not perfect, but he does do the job nicely. So what I do here is I am looking for, not butter yellow. We get a look at sunny yellow here. Just so I've got something I can work with while I'm at this, which is always wonderfully fun. Not really, but what the heck. I mean, for me, I like it a lot. For you, maybe not so much, but that's up to you guys. Oh, look, I've got those there. Now, what do we got here? Okay, let's solve that problem. Where the heck is it? My mouse. Should I put that there so I can't see my mouse? Where are we here? We can absolutely accommodate you there. Where are we? Quantum show. We copy that. We'll pop that back in. Oh, I thought I put that in already. And there is the link for you there, Henry. I'm sure that Nathan will appreciate it. I keep doing that, I turn around, I hit they paste into that area, and then I promptly forget to turn around. I promptly forget to turn around and actually hit enter so it'll post. Kind of a pain in the neck in some ways. Not a problem there at all, Henry. Glad to help. Like I said, this really does boil down to an issue of all of us working together to make things come together, to make this a better world. Don't require that. Where is that? Take this funny little paintbrush so we can get some of this dealt with. This is just a question of making certain that we bring everything together. Because it's these little bits and pieces of work that actually finish jobs off for us. But like I said, you've got a question in any field. Doesn't have to be on creativity. People talk about things in various different fashions. I get a kick out of the way that Nathan puts it, though, that virtually that everything is quantum. The ironic part of it is, or the intriguing part of it anyway, is he's not entirely wrong. Because you cannot have a full-size situation if you don't cover the building blocks first, which happen to be built in the quantum realm. And as a matter of fact, the funny thing there is the quantum realm is where it has to be built to get to the physical realm. But where it comes to get to the quantum realm, you got to start with subquantum. In other words, even smaller than what Nathan works with. But again, that's really a lot more his department than mine. And apparently my eyesight is completely shambled today. But, I'm looking at this going, I got a whole pile of these things I'm working on, but realistically, like I just got finished a gaming session just not half an hour ago here. Well, I guess we're at 4:30 almost, so it'd be about an hour. So what I'm aiming at doing is getting all of this put together so that we can actually, I'm hoping to get this particular character finished today. Now, I am by no means perfect. I've seen people with far better hands, and of course, I'm looking, the really sad part is with what I'm painting right now, I'm actually looking at 3 different images. It's kind of an intriguing way of paint. I can't see one side of it, and we're still managing to get it done. What I don't know is why my eyesight's off. But, I've taken to getting these figures done, and I'm going to be working on another one here momentarily. What do I got for going on here? Somebody wandered in. Hey, Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Henry, you're absolutely correct. That, yes, you call it a theory, I call it a fact. Okay, because everything is very connected. This is why there are so many, if you will, synchronicities. Hey, Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I trust your day has been eventful. Now let's get this little monster up here. Go in here, go to there, and we look for Chad. Where is Chad? And this is the link to Chad's show. Okay, and again, if you would be kind enough to drop in, take a look. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up and subscribe to his channel. The fact of the matter is that all of these little podcasts, when you mount them together, you look at the big picture, at the big moguls, and realistically, what they did a long time ago, before the internet ever came into existence, was they turned around and went, okay, we're a little company and we're just going to merge with a bigger company. Now, I call it, they called it takeover. If they had thought about it and merged, they'd have a lot more dynamic field. You think about it. Anything that you desire to accomplish in life is going to require assistance from other people. I have yet to run into any individual that was absolutely self-contained. Okay. This is why I like that song where, we are all together. I can't forget exactly. Oh, and that came off of High School Musical. Again, it's just another way of looking at the world. But by looking at this world and focusing on the positive side, we can make a lot better headway in putting things back on the right track. There are things I cannot give you a scientific name for it, Henry, but there are things smaller than quarks and planks. Okay. Absolutely there, Joseph. And the reality of it is that as soon as you start seeing yourself as being, I can honestly say no, at least not intentionally. As soon as you can see yourself as being of value, of being worth it, like Joseph just asked, do you follow the teachings of Abraham Hicks? And the answer from that standpoint is no, I honestly don't. I think I may have heard his name, but I do not follow him. I don't actually follow many of the channels, or for that matter, many of the so-called moguls. Okay, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Not the least of which is I actually don't take the time for it, which maybe I should, especially with what I was told the other day. Was not very happy about it. But I figure I'm looking at this going, I will do the best I can with what I've got, and that's where it ends. Does that work out necessarily as well as I'd like? Certainly not. Okay. See, the thing is this. Where are we? Right here. Oh, that is fantastic there, Adam. I appreciate you letting us know. That had to be a good trip. At least you had company on the trip, which usually makes things better. It's just one of those things that if you can get company to go with you, it's not quite so lost. Exactly. Ultimately there, Henry, that is precisely the issue. If you take a look at the way reality is, it is all built up of tiny particles. What really amazes me is that some of what I see as being just a common sense issue seems to be overlooked. Now, tell me, Adam, did you, if you would please, did you stay off the roads and stay on the sidewalks to avoid the other traffic? Because I hear that can be done. It's just a really dangerous concept. The nice little part about this whole thing with reality is once we start looking at the way reality is, we can make this world so much better. Now, I am going to, as a matter of fact, I'll do that anyway. Oh joy. Yeah, if the passing lane is a massive snowdrift, you're not making changes. You're not changing much. It's just not functionally possible. So we take a look at that and we go, okay, stay out of the middle lane because that's no good. On the other hand, it does avoid people crossing in the wrong lane. Which is definitely a plus. Because we don't need that kind of headache. I always found it fascinating. Like I used to drive with an absolutely lead foot. And then it dawned on me one day, I'm like, it doesn't matter where I'm heading. The building is, I'm either heading to a building or I'm heading to just a general city. But in either event, wherever I'm heading, it's going to be there when I get there. So I just finally got to the point where I went, no, I'm just not speeding anymore. Didn't make any difference, though. People still pass me on both sides. Which, I agree. Sometimes you can be pressed for time. Problem is that if you're pressed for time, and you're not driving as well as you could be. Not to mention the other drivers tend to overlook things. So you got to remember, you're not just driving for you. You're driving for everybody around you at the same time. Because most of them don't actually pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on. And I'm sure those of you that are out there trucking have run into that way too often. And what do we got going on up here? See, the nice part about it is if you are looking at a trip and you see that trip is going well, you can actually alter the energy flow in order to get there, in order to make that trip more safely. The problem is we are taught that is not possible. Well, from what I've seen in my life, it absolutely is possible. It's just a pain in the neck if you're still fighting the concept and buying into what other people are telling you. It's kind of like you would think that I would not be able to do this at all. Because I really am not seeing well right now. But the good thing is I'm not actually driving anywhere. But we take a look at that. Now, put him up there. When you take a look at it, it is really time to take a look in the way your life is running. Here's the sad part. Now, I got told the other day, and I mentioned this briefly. I got told the other day that I was being extremely rude. Right? I had told the guy, don't push this issue. Well, he decided to push it, and so I told him I was going to hang up on him, and apparently that was rude. But the thing is, I look at it this way. If I'm going to tell you, if I warn you, and of course he came back with this neat idea of, an apology would be nice. I'm like, I understand that. Not that I ever actually apologized, because in my eyes, it was real simple. I said don't push that and don't go there. They chose to go there. So, do I feel like an apology is really in order? For me, no, definitely not. Okay, I am looking for a blue, by the way. Okay, what do we got here? Browns and all sorts of real neat colors, but black is not necessary for what I'm aiming for. Cobalt blue, that'll work. Well, coincidences are a real neat little issue there, Henry. I always look for why it happened. What is the other part going on behind it? I told my other half just a couple of days earlier that I was going to have there was going to be a blowout in my family. Didn't know why, didn't know what. I just knew it was coming. Right? And then it came out of a dream. Came out of a light doze and a definite dream. And found out that sure enough, there had been an absolute blowout. Something had happened that created a havoc that I had no option but to deal with. So now what I'm looking at is how do I go forward from here? And I'm still working on the how, but I figure what the heck? Okay, that ain't gonna work. I always get a kick out of when I try doing something and I don't have quite the right tool to do it. So we take that and we grab one of these. Because what I'm doing here, this little figure, as you can see, he is solid black. But something dawned on me yesterday, a couple of days ago when I was writing, that I needed a little bit more color in this. Right? So I decided, okay, let's add an extra stripe of blue here. Don't know why, it just seemed like the thing to do. You know, I'm thinking of adding a couple of other colors, but we'll settle for this for the time being. You know, but what I've got here, because the fact of the matter is, if you look in the wild, you know, if you look in the wild, they are not all just one color. I mean, even crocodiles are multiple colors. Okay. You know, yes, for the most part, they're greens. But the reality is that they are, they're multiple shades of green. And it usually has some sort of color patterning or color coding on it, which makes it that much more interesting. Now, what I'm looking at here, and this is working out nicely, I think what I'm going to do, let me ask you this, guys. Primarily, this is black. But as you're starting to see there's a blue stripe down the side of it. Now, I'm thinking of taking a very bright red and running it right down the back. Coloring in beside the blue. It just seems to be for me, it seems to be a functional color. Because this critter is not supposed to be a really nice individual to start with. What do we got here? Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, Nathan. The reality of it is, in a nutshell, and I cannot afford to go too terribly far into this. So take that for what it is. But I found out something about the way my family is looking at the way I'm doing things. And overstep boundaries way, way, way too far. So now I have to actually run roughshod and correct that before the damage gets any worse. But on the plus side, I know exactly what I've got to do, and I have called in people to give me a hand. It's bad when there's a problem between you and a friend of yours, or you and somebody you've known for a very long time. It becomes an even bigger problem, and quite frankly, if it's family. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer in the old saying, that blood is thicker than water. I mean, let's take it and let's face it. Any viscosity test will show you that blood is thicker than water. Okay. That's just the reality behind it. When the thing you got to remember here is you can decide that you're going to create something. Now, like for instance, this neat little piece that I'm adding in here. Am I actually out of light? No. Oh, I know what I can do to make this easier. And hopefully it won't create a whole lot of problem, but I'll put it down on the counter behind me here. So let's see how that works. See, I'm looking at this going, now what's going on that I can actually work with? But something just dawned on me here, which may just help. See, I've got a nice little tool here. Hopefully this isn't going to create a big problem, but we'll find out soon enough. Don't you love my wonderful little lamp? She's a gargoyle. And yes, by the way, gargoyles are, well, let's hope that didn't do much damage. Gargoyles are another race. As a matter of fact, don't think they're in here. There might be. Let's just take a peek. They should be in here anyway. Tylenol. There we. Oh yes, the Gorgon. By the way, in Races of the Worlds, I had to actually change the spell or correct the spelling on it because boy did I ever get flack. I spelled it originally Gorgon, which is absolutely off kilter. And I wonder if I've got this one actually printed out. I don't know if I did. No, I need the artwork. Race of the World art. Nope, not that. Yldrbac art. There we go. Yldrbac. Well, of course I'm not going to have it right handy. I mean, why would I possibly do that? That's because I didn't go out and get ink for it. Now, with that in mind, okay, I am looking at correcting a few things. Now, where did I just put those? I don't blame you there, Christine. Definitely don't blame you there. It works for me. When it works for me, it's great. Hey, Mr. L, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Football. It depends on your definition of whether or not, it depends on your definition of what cold is. Like right now, let us just see. Right now, we are sitting at 6 degrees, which is just over 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, I appreciate that there, Mr. L. Remember, if you do have a question in any topic at all, even if it's not one that we're talking about at the moment, absolutely drop us a line. Absolutely drop us a line. And, but drop us a line. Put your question in all caps. Now, right about now there, Christine? No, football. Right about there. Right about now, it is 6 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius, which is just over 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, now I don't know if you call that cold or not. For me, I figure we're above 2, right? Which it's been below freezing for the longest time. While at 2 degrees, we're looking at about 36. And that's just a real quick calculation. But no, the nice part about it, from my standpoint, do I see that as being overly cold? Honestly, I really don't. Okay. What I will tell you though, is I'm a lousy gauge for temperature a lot of the time. Yeah, pretty much, Henry. Except I don't wear shorts. But I was outside today for a little bit. I was outside in a what many people call a muscle shirt. I don't really have muscles to work with, but that's what they call it. So I was looking at it going, well, it's warm enough for me to be comfortable, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But I will tell you, things have been a little screwy where it comes to trying to get things, and where it comes to trying to make certain that everything fits properly. And I don't actually catch my death pneumonia. At this stage, what I'm looking at is going, okay, how can I take this particular creature? As you can see, I'm getting a blue line into him. Reptiles are not absolutely one color. Okay, but this particular critter is one of the great subterranean lizards that I write about in the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Okay, and I will get to that and more of that. Of course, tonight, what is tonight? I know I'm looking at something tonight. This is Sunday, so... Oh, yes. Tonight, when I come back here at approximately 7:30 Pacific, I'll be reading the prologue and the first part of Chapter 1 of The Birth of the Wolfpack. I figured that would work as far as a functional way of doing things. I really don't know how things are going to work out on that end, as far as whether this is going to work the way I'd like it to, or whether it's basically just a way of putting a little more time in. But absolutely, if you guys have any ideas, and like I said, I do look at things, I do look at the different topics you guys come up with, because honestly, you guys know what you're looking for more than I do. Uh-oh. Oh. Well, that I can do. What is that? Oh. Oh, what are we dealing with here? Whoa, boy, did we ever jump a lot. Turn my back and it just sails up here. This is why I'm amazed with some YouTubers. They can track this so easily. Hey, Lunar, how you doing? Glad you could join us. What do we got here? Yeah, Henry goes, death by pneumonia is probably not ideal. No, I've tried the pneumonia thing. It didn't take too well. Actually, I don't honestly know. When I was 5 years old, I had a fever of 108.4, massive lung infection. Fever lasted for 2 weeks. Wiped out my hypothalamus and my hippocampus. And net result, I end up with a whole lot of different problems with outlook. But when you look at it, when you look at the way you're living your life, as long as you're being true to you, that is realistically all anybody can functionally ask. Now, I don't know if you guys see it that way. I know that's the way I look at it. And that's why I put it that way. Oh, what do we got here? Yeah. Yeah, no. In all fairness, I'm wearing a shirt under this. I just got a little colder than what I was intending. That might have had to do with leaving the door open all day, with it only when sitting still, with it only being. Oh, that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant, I tell you. Standing here, got a figure with wet paint. What do? Put my finger right into it. But I figure we take the blue, and as soon as it finishes drying, once I quit adding to it, then I'll take the back ridge and turn it red. And again, it really boils down to just an idea that this is the way I decided I was going to go with it. And we'll see how it works. The one that is really the best one to watch is when World comes on. Keep putting my pen down or my glasses down and forgetting where they are. Yeah, that's the thing, Lunar. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this whole thing about the volcanoes, and I will tell you, we have to have them go off. Okay, the reason being, because if you've been watching Yellowstone, if Yellowstone National Park goes, that is a planet killer. So, in order to relieve that pressure before it detonates, we've got to have, what I've calculated out, without mathematics, by the way, is we've got to have 4 reasonably local volcanoes in the area go off, or Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, either one will release enough pressure to avoid a planet-killing event. You know, that's just one of those little hiccups. Oh, not a problem there, Lunar. Just checking to see if you've got a. Where do we go? Lunar's just going another week of rain. Was thinking mixing pigments earlier. Oh, heavens, so. Heavens, yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, that many volcanoes going off of their own accord is not going to cause as big of a problem as you might think. No, in all fairness, their football, I haven't seen them around. He's seen them around for a while. Mind you, he ought to be out soon. We're starting to come positive. Starting to warm up enough for him to be out and about again. Yeah, it can be very difficult trying to stay positive when you watch the world literally blowing up around you. But here's the nice thing. When a volcano goes off, it releases enough pressure to stabilize the ground around it. Unfortunately, so many people in this world are focusing almost strictly on the negative side that's creating some complications. That's unfortunately the way that a lot of people look at things. Like, how big of a mess can we actually make? And rest assured, mankind is doing a bang-up job on that one. Okay, I think I finally got this to a color that I can work with. Primarily because I needed the blue. I've got to let the blue set before I can get to the red. And again, this does boil down to deciding what something looks like and then just simply making it happen. And I will get to a couple of things here, not the least of which is why spend so much time on this when obviously it's not going to do a lot. I mean, let's face it, this is not a good paint job, at least not in my eyes. But see that little bit of a change there, and we'll get to a little more of it a little later tonight. But I look at things this way. I meet people quite often at just the right point to make a difference in both of our lives. That's just the reality behind it. I think I'm going to put him up there out of the way until he dries anyway. And what is going on here? Yeah, well, the funny part there, Dogface, I actually got up this morning at 1:00 my time, was up through the time change, so I can tell you it does take place at 2:00 in the morning. But here's the silly thing. My understanding is the time change was started to deal with the farmers on the prairies. But as far as I understand it, the farmers on the prairies don't actually use time change. I had better deal with this before it becomes really problematic. Give me 1 second here, guys. You mind, kid? Well, I don't mind. If you don't mind being heard on the radio, I don't. I do now. You give me a radio star that way. Love you, kiddo. Okay, we are back. And yes, I have gotten used to the idea of, taking off when I have to and then coming back. It's kind of one of the things I look at going, well, if it's got to be done that way, that's what I'll work with. Oh, gotta find that. This is just one of these really bizarre ideas. Now, I am all for, I'm all for equal opportunity for people. But remember, this is, now this is a figure for Aftermath, or for Aftermath. This is a figure they built for D&D, for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, this one unfortunately got damaged. But here's the thing I want you to take a look at here. Okay. Oh, heavens there, Luna. Do not worry about interrupting me. My mind goes in multiple directions. And I usually get lost myself. I actually had somebody tell me one day I should plan my shows out better because that way they would be easier to follow. And I'm like, I probably should, but planning's never been a strong suit. But here's the thing. This is a figure for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I'm all for people being, for people getting equal showing and what have you. But there comes a time when you have to ask about the logistics behind it. Okay. Now, you picture this character here. Okay. This is a character. Now, her other arm, you can see it's broken, but it does get the point across. It did used to have a shield on it. And you'll notice she's got a mace in her hand. Okay, now here's the silly part. This is the other part of the figure. Okay, now I'm all for anybody that can do the job, absolutely do so, regardless of your gender, regardless of anything. Okay, this is her method of conveyance. You notice what this looks like? Okay, you notice there's no toggle switches on it or anything. This is a manual wheelchair. Okay. Now, we have this person. Okay. She used to have a small shield in this arm and the mace. Now, we take that. Now, remember, a small shield and a mace. This means you're using two arms to deal with your fighting. So, what do? They have her show up in a wheelchair. Can anybody see a complication with this as far as the survivability of this character goes? This is in a manual wheelchair. Okay. Now I'm just thinking there's a problem here. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I overlooked something. Okay. In all fairness, I picked the pair of them up because it was a novelty. Where is the other one? There it is. Well, yeah. See, these two showed up at the same time. Okay, in the same package. Now, this one at least, this guy here is a spellcaster, and as you can see, he's got some sort of spell coming out of his hand. But again, he was made with a wheelchair. Can you see a problem with this? Okay. I mean, to me, this is just a bizarre idea. I picked them up because I found the characters kind of a neat little idea. Definitely novel, but I wouldn't be, I don't know about you, but if you game at all, trying to run a character that is wheelchair bound in a manual wheelchair, how are you possibly going to fight? This is what I look at. How it's like, trying to get things if you're physically missing parts of your body. Can you picture somebody becoming a singing superstar if they don't actually physically have, if they don't have vocal cords? Henry's going, We'll move that out of the way. Yeah, Henry's going, wheelchair combatant seems far from ideal, unless he has a crossbow or something. Absolutely. Especially we also have to remember that most of the medieval world is built on hillocks and, hillocks and bumps and, trees and this sort of thing. I'm just seeing problems with mobility across the board. Okay. Now, that's just me, and maybe I'm overlooking something. But these are just some of the things I look at. But no, the neat part about it, is I look at these figures. They come in real handy for getting things organized. Oh yes, this little gentleman here, and I do believe that color will work nicely. So if we take cobalt blue, because I'm thinking that is actually a really good paint, really good color for this guy. We just do cobalt blue, and I'm thinking blood red, because this chap here, this one that I'm working on right now, this is the figure that I'm using for to represent Yldrbac. Telebi. That was rude. Yeah, I realized it wasn't English, but that's okay. I do not like gravity some days. But hey, what the heck? We'd be all in a mess if it weren't for gravity. But no, I'm looking at this. I figured I came across this character, and he is actually a really good option for the representation. So that's what I decided to do with him. I found that if I find characters that I can work with, and then use them as representation, it makes it easier to consistently decide what the figures are doing. Especially when choreographing complications. And I will show you a couple of other ones in time. Probably not tonight, because I don't intend on leaving the room again here. Of course, we know how that works. So I'm looking at this going, okay, how do we deal with this? What have we got there? Oh, nice there. Really happy for you there, Lunar. So are you going to be painting them and what have you, or are you using them just for ornaments, which I've seen both done? I've got in excess of 500 of these things and figured it was about time to start wrapping them off. But it does take a fair amount of work and certainly patience. I just figured on Sundays, if I come in here, I work with this while I'm talking to you. Now, one of the things that you got to remember, whatever the goal is that you set for yourself, just remember two factors. One, the goal is for you. It is not necessarily going to make other people happy. Yeah, ultimately that's the size, because these guys, the way the scale these are mostly made to is 1 inch equals 6 feet. So I take a look at the figure going, okay, what type of character am I dealing with? And this particular one, this is actually this is building and being built as the primary antagonist in the entire Yldrbacian Chronicles. The idea is to make it as, to make the characters as multidimensional as I can. Multidimensional meaning letting you get to know with all senses. Okay. This particular one, I'm figuring the blue is working really nice for his overall robe. But it's also one of these things that I have to look at and go, how am I going to work with this and how am I going to write it into the story? And there's a neat little part that I figure I will read to you shortly. What I did was I wrote it. Now, let me ask you this, guys. I've got an alright part. Can we try English? What do you think? I'm thinking, mumbleese and mumbleese and stumble might be an idea because I am not speaking well at this point. But I have one of two options. One is just wait until the time I come back on to do the reading of the Yldrbacian Chronicles and read it there. Or I have a section that I've been working on, and it's only a rough draft. But one of the characters he's an absolute riot to work with. He's completely, he's what I call, well, the title he gets introduced in is one called The Accidental Protagonist. And, if you read the book, if you get around to reading the book, or the books is more to the point, when he shows up, he is absolutely accidental. There's no question there at all. Now, I do believe we'll just leave that there. Yeah, wouldn't you know it? One drawback with painting, I'm certain any of you working with paints know this, but getting paint on your fingers is just plain normal. What do we got here? Okay, let's see here. This headlamp woman used to have eyes on the back have eyes. Now the face is blank. Trying to figure out how I can paint eyes back on it. The best I can tell you, and if gotta figure out. I'm trying to remember the chap's name. This is terrible, you know that? But let's open that up. Of course. From my standpoint, the best I can tell you regarding eyes, you'll really need fine paintbrushes to do it. Right. But the best I can tell you is you put a small white dollop wherever you want the overall eye to be. Or if you want different color, take red. Just an example. And then you take a smaller black dot and put it in the middle of the one you had. Okay. Make sure you let the first color dry before you add the pupil. Okay. That should work well enough for you. Depending on how small of a paintbrush you've got. What do we got here? We shrink that down. Thank you so much for that added input there, YJ. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I had a brother that used to be a cartoon artist. He never went professional, but boy, was he good at it. I've actually got one of his last remaining pieces of art hanging up in my living room. Well, more to the point, in my hallway. Hey, Lunar, here's a question for you. Kind of an important one. You're saying here, Lunar's just saying my roommate does scale model and building, mostly cars. what I am looking for, okay, and I don't know where to find it, is scale model. I don't really, it doesn't matter if they are, for some bizarre reason, I cannot see going, 1 inch equals 6 feet. Well, maybe I can. Let's just take a look at that. If we bring the calculator up, we go, oh yeah, we really could. That would be ideal. 40 feet divided by 6. What I am looking for, to be specific, is, and I don't know what make of semi this is, but I need to find a semi that I need to find. I know a Kenworth is one, but I need to find models that are not pre-painted. Okay, if I can find ones that are not pre-painted. Okay, but I've got to find that, and I've got to find, there's a couple I need. Okay, I think it's an International that has a flat grill. Okay, there may be other ones, and what I've got to find is is a couple of them that are absolutely flat grilled. Okay, a flat grill, flat deck, 40-foot flatbed. Okay, and then I got to find military vehicles to be able to do that, to be able to actually build the vehicle. Yeah, I used to actually have an interesting setup. I used to have a little art clamp that holds the magnifying lens right there. I never did actually get it set up. Now I don't know where it is. But no, I'm working on getting these different figures done and getting them brought into balance. But when I said everything is connected, the painting I'm doing, the figures I'm painting and putting together, they are being used to represent different characters, in the books. I don't know where I'm going to find figures to even start working on the 3-dimensional ones as far as Races of the Worlds go. That one I can see me running into some pretty severe snags. Now many of these, what do we got here? Oh yeah, that works. See, I'm looking at this going, I've got all these figures, and you can only paint a little bit at a time with them, because we're talking about really tiny figures. So this guy here, I'm literally just tying him off. But it does take some very definite, some very delicate work. Oh, look, I didn't get the inside foot done. So obviously it's going to be a minute before I get that done. But I know that's Tucson Red. But I'm looking at the way that like all of this works for me. But, I know you guys, that some of you have questions out there. Hey, Raven, how you doing? Thank you for the concern. It was literally a issue with family complications that I had absolutely no choice but to deal with. But health-wise, personally, I'm doing fine. Which is so much better by going, hey guys, sorry I missed the day. I had a heart attack and died. You know, I look at it going, yeah, I may end up dead again. It's likely. But it doesn't really bother me half as much as was the way that the world is going right now, and how that seems to be rather sour. Now, why, pray tell, would I do that? Question for you guys. Take a look at this figure. Okay? Take a look at this chap here. Now, you'll notice he's got red, red pants and a red shirt. But if you look right at the base, I don't know if you can tell that. Probably not. Oh, there you go. He has blue shoes. What I'm wondering is whether maybe I should turn around and paint over the shirt itself and make it that same color of cobalt blue. You can't see much of it there, but it's just a question. What do you think? Should we leave the shirt red or change it to cobalt blue? Just a question, just an input issue. I'm hoping to get the I don't know what scale they call it, but I'm hoping to find ones that are 1 inch equals 6 feet. I wonder if that might be, yeah, that would be 6 times 12. Yeah, that's 72nd scale. Hey, Shadow, how you doing? Gee, just the guy I was waiting for. Now, let us see here. I just mentioned I was waiting for one person to come into the room here, and that would be you. This is Shadow's channel. Okay? And again, absolutely. Drop in, take a look at what he has to say. If you like what he's got to say, give him a thumbs up. If you like the channel, give it a, do subscribe. And there it is right there. But yeah, I think that's 72nd scale. Uh-oh. Yeah, Shadow just going, I'm stuffed. Sunday is taco night at Casa the Shadow. Yeah, we had what was it? Yesterday I had company over on top of everything else, and she decided to make us butter chicken spaghetti. Which worked out really well. So we ended up keeping leftovers. It kind of worked out even better. But no, that was just kind of a question as far as the coloring goes. Because I'm looking at some of the characters I've got here. Some of these guys are turning out really nicely, and we are getting around to getting them tied off. But need brown there. But what do we got? Gee, everybody seems to have had a different night last night. Let's try something new. I love it. I really do. I'm actually starting to learn to cook. I've been able to cook for years, but I've never gone to any real great extent to try something different. I figured, okay, it ain't moving. It doesn't kill you. We got a good meal. That's what I get for having no ability to track time and or space properly, and virtually no taste buds. That's where it becomes a problem when you're trying to cook and you're missing those three primary, pardon the pun, but primary ingredients. Oh, nice. Yeah, Lunar's just going, I was watching a local astronaut return from the ISS. Hopefully it landed hopefully everything went well and it landed safely. I'm looking at the way this whole setup is running and going, we really have to look at the world and decide, are we going to leave this world continue on the path it's been on, or are we going to start working with it and make it a better place? So that not so much for us, but so the generation coming up after us. Oops. Well, there's always McDonald's there, Raven. Of course, in all fairness, McDonald's was great for me when I was living in the bar. But as far as food goes, well, that's personal choice. You know. But no, I mean, think of it this way though, Raven. We're making you hungry. But think of it this way. I'm hungry almost 24/7. It's a pain in the neck. But then, like I keep telling people, I only eat one meal a day. I start eating when I first get up. I start eating when I first get up. In today's case, I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And then what I do is I keep eating, usually until I go to bed about 10 o'clock at night. I've really cut back a lot since a couple of years back. Why I decided I was going to cut down on my size. That sounds excellent, Adam. Just remember, no cooking them on the muffler. Always use the heater block, or the block heater, or whatever you want to call that thing. The muffler, it's just way too hard to get them on top of it. So I'm looking at this right now going, the figures are coming out quite nicely. Where are we here? I was already back up and about by the time you got to bed there, Shadow. By the way, this is not necessarily a good idea, as in getting up and operational that long. But, hey, what the heck, it didn't kill me. That's why I told my other half the other day. I said, look, because she's worried she's on a time frame. And I said, you are on a time frame. You have to get up here to Canada before I die. If you do not get up here before I die, I'm just not going to marry you. That's just the way it's going to go. But that's pretty much where the time limit ends. Because, the reality is, I'm not looking for anybody else. I don't see the point, in all honesty, of looking for anybody else. So I'm just doing things my way. In case you're wondering, I keep forgetting where I put my glasses. Oh, I absolutely am more than willing to do that in there, Shadow. Shadow's just saying, I'm going to be sending you supplies in April, and hopefully we can do a painting video together after you receive them. I'm absolutely up for it. Do understand, guys, there is no way I'm going to compete. There is no way I'm going to compete with him as far as painting goes. But I have no problem at all painting alongside him. Yeah. Oh, heavens. There's no question there. We have already decided, the two of us have decided. Well, when you look at the thing, and by the way, Joe, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us tonight. The nice part about it is that she's been, we've been trying to connect with each other since, really, since way back before man became civilized. But where we really had a parting was in ancient Rome. Okay, round about 347 AD. We had a little bit of a problem. Might have been a little earlier than that. I've got to go back over my notes and see what I remember. See what I wrote down, because it's one of those ones I've been documenting. By the way, Ken, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Okay, I got a buddy that'll do that. Mind you, he's a demolition. And Shadow says, no worries. I just want to show you some simple tips that will blow your socks off. I got a buddy that can do that with dynamite. He's a demolitions expert. You know, Lunar, the problem with people deciding that having that having an affair is a good idea, it doesn't actually help anybody except in the immediate time frame. But I've seen so many friendships wiped out because of it. So many friendships, so many relationships that have just gone the way of the dodo bird because somebody decided that, crawling into bed with somebody else or working on and gambling on a project of one form or another that wasn't exactly entirely above board was a good idea. And I'm telling you, much as a lot of the people I know have major histories with authorities in a negative fashion. Myself, I've never held that against anybody. As long as they didn't do it to me. I've always recommended you don't do it. Of course, I usually meet these guys after they've done it. And yes, Ken, you are absolutely right. It has been a long time. But then I suspect your schedule and my schedule have been very similar in that fashion. Where are we? Up there. And we grab this neat little thing. And where are we here? You know, um, yeah, Shy. What we got? Um, okay, that's just disturbing in the extreme there, Raven. Raven's just told us now they have FFDA approved lab meat that they're marketing to the restaurant industry. Um, I don't know about you guys, but to me that just makes me back up and go, what was it? Not what is it, but what was it? You know, I mean, I've got my reservations about genetically modified food, but that's taking it to the extreme. I mean, that's as bad as when I was down in Vancouver one year. You know, I was going by this, I was going down the road and I saw this sign. Okay, and it says butcher. It used the name of the guy, but it says butcher, fresh meat, all across the front window. It's a huge banner on the window. Right. But it shared a firewall with the city morgue. Now, I'm not sure, but I think that's a bit of a problem. Got one question for you there, Raven. This chap, Abraham, that talks about the law of attraction, does he by any chance talk in terms of asking for what you want in your life? Oh, well, the nice part about hot dogs is, from my standpoint, I look at them and go, they're already dead. I already know they're pretty much whatever was available. Okay. Yeah, no doubt there, Henry. Hey, watch. Eat this burger. It'll eat your mind. It'll eat your tongue out. It'll dissolve the food, the excess fat in no time. Of course, it literally dissolves it, but what the heck? If you think about it, when we look at what goes on, I mean, I hear people talk about, oh, what you see in a fast food restaurant, just don't eat there because look at what they do. I'm telling you, it's worse in a restaurant. But it's like I've always held. You can eat off anybody's floor. It's just with some people you get a better selection. Yeah, yes, I know that's twisted, but what the heck? That's me. Don't need that. Where did I put? Not, yes, I do want bright red. Oh, guys, I gotta tell you, I was playing the game today. I was playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons today, and I ended up coming across a magic ring. Right. Neat little ring, much like this, but the whole magic of it. Now, bear in mind, my character was already starting to figure out, he was starting to lean towards animal training and animal handling and that side of things. And then he comes across this ring, right? And it's got that neat little magic ability called animal mesmerism. And any animal around him will now follow him around as long as he's wearing the ring. Even the aggressive ones will follow him around without actually attacking him. Now, this is a dangerous idea when you think about it. So, he only picked it up today. I don't know what we're going to do with it yet. Hey, Horsey, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I am wondering, people keep finding new and exciting ways to isolate each other from themselves. And now we're coming up with new and exciting ways to go, well, it wasn't moving, so I guess it was edible. And they used to say the Marines, the military Marines had tough training. Well, that's a little late in the cooking process, isn't it? And that does happen periodically. Fortunately, well, in all fairness, Lunar, it used to happen periodically. Fortunately, few and far between ever had that problem. Right. And I mean, with the thousands of eggs they go through, it's no wonder they miss one or two. But now they're creating a real disaster here. I had almost reached that same point, YJ. I just went, no, not working on that. I literally got to the point where I went, I'm just not interested in having that kind of, in bothering trying to find people, find a partner. Simply because of the fact that, like you, I have my own issues, I've got my own problems, and I didn't feel it was right for them, for me to turn around and really create that kind of complication. Go, okay, I've got all these issues. Now you're going to have to cope with it. So the last person that I talked to in that venue, looking at the possibility of a relationship, I just figured I'd put it out there, and go, I'm not dealing with the long and the short of it. Now, bear in mind, I live up in Canada, okay, right smack in the middle of the Okanagan Valley. Yeah, no doubt there, Joe. Joe's just going, well, at least there wasn't a T-Rex in the egg. But no, I turned around and I told her flat out, I said, look, let's get one thing straight right off the hop. I'm not moving. Right? I figured, if anything was going to create a problem, considering she happens to be in the States and I'm up here in Canada, I figured if anything was going to shut that down, that would do it. Right. And, told her about my son, as far as the fact, I says, look, my son has a mild case of CP. And if he never moves out, that's the way it is. Well, I'll tell you, it took her 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And she came back with, well, I can work with it. And the second she did that, it's like, well, that was 2.5 years ago. So might tell you how well that worked out. But don't kid yourself there, YJ. And this applies to any one of you. Even if you have an illness, come right out and let the person know. Okay. Yeah, you'll get a lot more, one dates or short conversations. But you lead with that. Don't bury it as a punchline. You lead with that little revelation. You may be absolutely shocked with the outcome. I looked at it and went, okay, I'm just going to put it out there and go, this is the way my life is going to go. Because I just couldn't see the point in waiting around for it to go, oh, let's get to know each other and then drop that on you. Because it does not work well. This is actually going to turn out really nice. There's no question there, and I saw something pop up there. Where'd it go? Eyeballs. Oh, neat. Luna's just saying my friends across the street run a permaculture farm with emus. I understand, now they run the emus, or they grow the emus. I'm presuming they sell the eggs somewhere, as well as the excess meat. Yeah, there are so many things that mankind is doing that you have to wonder what they're up to. I figured I'd get let's not do that because that's going to cause a problem. I figured I might just as well do this. As with this is quite normal for a Sunday night. I never did hear from you guys, just because I never asked, in all fairness. And no, I think I'll do that when I get back. No, maybe not. Anyway, I've got an excerpt that I just finished writing for the Return to Paradise. Just finished writing it today in the first rough draft. It is not complete by any means. I'll be completing it tonight. Because again, this really boils down to an issue of going, I've got to get these stories written. The idea is to get them written before I die. I'm already way behind on certain parts of it. But I'm not planning on dying. Of course, I wasn't planning on becoming unemployed either. So I'm working on a number of things at the same time. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow is Monday. That always makes life fun. Well, we'll leave that dry for a little bit. It's coming along nicely. And what have we got here? Oh, yes, I can do that easily. Now, do understand, this is the way I've got the story written. This is a subterranean lizard. Whoop, keep doing that. Okay, this is what the back of it is looking right now. And of course, I've still got to tidy it up. And then take a look at the size of that mouth. Whoop, can't grab that one. Gotta grab a figure that's dry. Okay, here's a standard person. Okay, and this is what these guys are coming in with. Okay, you can see the size of this thing. Now, these are actually ridden by some of the mounted soldiers of Kizak's forces. Okay, but as you can see, these are extremely nasty little critters. Now I'm not done with the color coding on this one. Okay, but that's what it looks like. This character I haven't finished painting, and I have no idea who he is going to represent or if he is going to represent anyone. This is the hill giant I've been working on, and I'll be working on him a little more tonight too. What have we got? This is more of the hill giant that I've managed to get sorted around. And we have down here What do we got here? Hey, Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, I have no doubt. That's the thing I was talking about. Well, there's an interesting question. Now, Luna, you said you were way down south in Texas, did you not? Yeah, I think $500,000 probably goes way outside my budget. I like the way you put that there, Lunar. She goes, the house beside me is up for sale. $500,000. Won't you be my neighbor? Oh, okay. Well, thank you for clarifying that there, Joe. Appreciate it. Yeah, and that little lamp there, this guy. I've had him for a while. Bring him over here, and there we are. I keep looking up at my screen above me, but if I do this, because you probably can't see that well, turn that off, and there we have the actual gargoyle that is there. I actually have seen this, and this is actually, if you get close to it, right. I don't know if that's a dog, a cat, or what the story. What I do know, it's winged. And boy, is it ever great when you turn it on, I can see what I'm doing. Doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. See, I'm a firm believer that music should be, that all music should be LGBT, friendly. Quite frankly, never mind LGBT. I personally figure that it should be, that all music should be just universally open. There is some music that I personally cannot go to. Okay. I know this is a non-question, Ken, but Ken's just said change the bulb. Why? I mean, from my standpoint, it's working. Changing it seems to be a little overstated at this point, but that's just me. But like I said, I'm a little bit of a dinosaur in a lot of ways. So I'm not entirely certain why I would change it. Because, I waited until my clock battery died before I changed it. Oh, newsflash for you. Number one, I mean, I appreciate people worrying about it being toxic, but I was clinically dead 4 times before I hit 10. Died the day I was born, died at 5, died at 8. Died at 20 months, died at 5, died at 8, died, and those all 4 were clinically proven. Died when I drowned when I was about 12. That I know of, I've literally been dead 4 times clinically proven, another 5 that were backed up by somebody else. An EMT or somebody else that was there when my heart kicked back in. The number of things that can kill you, I'll tell you. Years ago, about 20 years ago, the Canadian government came out with a brilliant comment. Okay. They came out and went, we have discovered the number 1 cause of lung cancer. And I'm like, okay, great. About time you admitted that. Number 1 cause of lung cancer. Breathing. Now, can we see there being a little bit of a problem here with worrying too much about dying? Dying is painful sometimes. But am I going to start worrying about it personally? Not a prayer. Way too many other things to annoy me. But like I said, I do appreciate the concern. I'm just not one of these people who looks at death and goes, "Uh-oh, I'm going to die." Well, I know I'm going to die, and one day I'll get around to doing it permanently. But for the moment, I will stick to, okay, because you got to remember, my health, yes, it's been questionable for years. But that's probably because I do eat hot dogs without even thinking about it. I'll eat them without cooking them. I'll eat them any way I can get a hold of them. They're convenient. I don't mind the flavor, and I don't question what's in them because, well, why bother? You know, you take a look at the amount I was drinking, the amount of drugs I went through. The fact I'm breathing at all is a miracle. Matter of fact, in all fairness, the fact anyone is breathing at all is kind of a miracle. But I was told I should go to the doctor and get my blood pressure checked. I'm like, yeah, no, not going to happen. I've got a blood pressure machine at home, to make sure that I stay on top of things. But I just don't see the point in spending my life worrying about whether I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die. I prefer to live a little longer. I do have a young lass I would like to marry. And like I told her, if I die first, I'm not marrying her. And if she dies first, I'm still not marrying her. Which is probably a cold way of looking at it, but at least it's an honest one. So now what I'm doing is going, okay, how do I make the most of the life I've got left? Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't think anybody really has a functional idea as to when exactly they're going to die. Yeah, it would be. Although it would be a showstopper. If you have two corpses, they wheel the coffins out into the middle of the room. Priest says a couple of words. Coffins get up and they pronounce the man. They go through the ceremony, pronounce the man and wife till death do you part. They crawl back into the coffin. Can you see this might be a bit of a problem for a lot of people to cope with? But I mean, I'm looking at it going, yes, I'm sick and twisted. Absolutely, I am. It's kind of like you, and most of you know of the gentleman that wrote the Hokey Pokey. And those of you that know, about 15 years ago, I guess now, he died. And it was kind of a sad event. Everything went really well. They had the funeral service and what have you. And they were, well, more to the point, they said their goodbyes. He was dying, so that was fine. Everything went absolutely perfect until they went and tried to put him in the coffin. And they went and put him in the coffin, and they put the right foot in, and the right foot came out. They put the right foot in, and he shook it all about. And it just got really chaotic in the mortuary at that point. Because they couldn't even get the left leg in, because they put the left leg in and he put it out. You can see how this took a long time to get him completely into the coffin. So yeah, having somebody up and die on you is going to interrupt wedding ceremonies. I mean, the best wedding ceremony I was ever at, and I wasn't exactly at it. Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, YJ's just going. My grandma lived the healthiest life and did everything right with her health. Sadly, she's 93 now with Alzheimer's and doesn't know who she is. And she's like a spring chicken with years to go. Yeah. It's funny. My nephew asked me one day. He goes, Uncle Keith, why is it that everybody out there is claiming to be really healthy and they're really health oriented? He says they're always sick. He says, but you, who clearly don't pay any attention to what you're eating, exercise almost never. He goes, why don't you ever get sick? I says, I frankly don't have time for it. He goes, that doesn't explain it. I says, no, but it is the closest I'm going to get. Ouch. He goes, our parents got drunk and tried to compete for nachos or a free pickle. Uh-oh. Yeah. That could get really, really twisted. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the hey Joe, didn't see you come in, I don't think. Yeah, but welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. I do like the way you put that there in there. Horace, you call it the hokey crokey. Definitely a fitting name for it. We are making headway with this particular little critter. Where I'm adding the red and blue, and I'll bring it around for you to see a little more clearly here pretty quick. And then I think what I'm going to do is take a moment and just turn around. I think it's on that. Yeah, it's right there on the shelf behind me. Because there's a neat little scene in there that I just finished writing that I think especially those of you that are gamers will really get a bang out of. Okay. Now bear in mind, as per Dragnet, way back in the 60s, the names of the creatures have been changed to protect the innocent. Doesn't do all that well, but what the heck. But I will grab that momentarily. I'm just finishing adding the red here to the back of this critter. And yes, I do absolutely have to look at how I'm going to do this, but that's okay. As you can see, we now have the color coming up. Okay, and no, it is not going to be red, white, and blue. Sorry, guys. This one's going to be red, black, and blue. Don't know what else I'm doing with him right now, but that'll work for there. Now, what do we got going on here? I see the screen is the chat room is moving. Curiosity there, Shadow. What do you think of the little monster? What do we got? Yeah, that's just terrible there, Lunar. Luna she was saying about her parents got drunk and trying to compete for nachos or a free pickle. The bar next door. Then the Church of LDS took over and we couldn't skate. Unfortunately, the biggest problem with mental health is there are so many labels and so many people that are looking at it that are going, oh, I've got this, and and don't get me wrong, I suffer from PTSD. I was diagnosed mentally retarded, then confused them and graduated on the honor roll. But so many people I talk to have come up with real brilliant claims. What do I do with it? No, that is not what I was looking for. Where did it actually go? Must be over here. Yes, getting up and moving around is kind of a necessity for me on occasion. Let's just take a look and see if I've got it here better. Because that's going to really annoy me if I don't. Back and go there. Should get these cleared out of the way, shouldn't I? I got notes here all over the place that I haven't actually pulled together. Book 7. Oh, that's the Dragon's Awake. Okay. And of course, I am missing one. I have got something turned around, not what I wanted there. Well, something got completely scrambled, which just annoys the daylights out of me. Oh, perfect. Yeah, definitely have to go through these today and tomorrow. Well, I guess I'm not going to do that because it's not here, but I got an hour afterwards to check it out. Now, it won't be up there yet because I'm not done with it. Where are we here? Got a sheet. I got a document that I wrote, and it has gone missing. It's a whole section that I've got written. So I definitely have to find it. But oh well, we'll figure that out. Just let the paint dry for a moment. Get some of this mess out of the way. This is just the way my world works. You know, to get the paint up there out of the way, get the figures up there and the paintbrushes and what have you. And that will save me a whole lot of hassles, as it were. Nothing like giving a little bit of confusion just to set the day off right. And since it's not there, that's okay. But what do we got here? You know, the reality of it is, guys, now I do agree with many of you that, you know, coincidences don't just happen. Okay. That's okay. I'm not going to die. Lungs just don't want to work well. But you get used to that. Oh, where did I put that stuff? Yep, not in the folder it belongs in. Anyway, I stuck it in book 12 itself. Maybe I did. What is this? That's preparations, which is not the file of the sheet that I'm looking for. I do not like when I do that. As you can see, what happens is I get my mind set on something, and I'm looking at it going, where did things go wrong? Okay. Well, I'm going to have to see if I can find it between the end of this stream and the start of the next one. What have we got? Oh, yeah. What it is I've got an entire screen, an entire scenario worked out. And now, for whatever reason, it's decided to go the way of the dodo bird. But I will track it down. You know, the thing is, I do my painting to draw like this neat little critter here. I do not recall right offhand. Now, I know some of you guys know what this guy is. Matter of fact, where is... Had yellow there. There. This little color is necessary. Let's see, take that, put that up there. And yellow, and then we grab a little bit of a paintbrush here. Grab a little bit of a paintbrush, and then what we'll do is just change the paintbrush, or the beak from black back to what it should have been to start with. And we turn it yellow, which will make it stand out a little bit more effectively. Doesn't exactly show up as well as I'd like, but I will tell you, painting black first is definitely the wrong way to do it. So now what I've got here, I'm sure some of you guys recognize this little chap. Okay, we've actually got that kind of being dealt with. So we'll put him up there because we've been working on him, do another coat on this one, and then we'll get back to things. Oh, excellent there, Joe. One of these days you gotta send me a picture of that little thing, of your pirate ship. That would be absolutely great. I find so many people spend so much time worrying about how to cause problems or how to hurt people, how to embarrass people. Personally, I'm a firm believer that if we can spend even a fraction of that time looking at what people are doing on a creative side in a positive fashion, it will have such a more positive impact. That was absolutely pathetic English. But the impact will be so much more positive and so much more beneficial to society on the whole than trying to point out, than trying to show what people have done to make mistakes. Okay. They absolutely are. And this idea of going, well, we've got to show that this individual company is, this individual type of person is special. So, we want them treated equally, but let's throw them in the spotlight and decide that's the best way to make them get treated equally. I will tell you, the method hasn't worked for generations. Well, it hasn't worked for centuries, in all fairness. Okay. When you concentrate on something, now, like I said, I was diagnosed mentally retarded. Okay, got told the other day, and it did create a problem for me. I got told the other day by somebody, they had asked me a question. I told them that was a question they did not want to push the answer for. It just was not a good question for them because it would not end well. Well, they decided that pushing the issue and trying to get me to agree to it was a good idea. It went backwards. And then they had the wonderful insight to tell me that I was rude, uncivilized, and that it would be an idea to apologize. So I sent them back a very simple message. Understood. And that was pretty much where that ended. Because, from my standpoint, it's pretty simple. Like, I look at this, and I could have somebody take a look at my artwork and go, oh, look at all the flaws in it. Okay? And there are a lot of flaws in it. And I could take that to heart and say, okay, I did an absolutely pathetic job. I ended up doing that when I was a kid. Okay? I was told by virtually everybody not to sing because I couldn't do it well. Well, let me ask you this. Are there many people that just automatically, really, when you look at the overall numbers, are there many people that just automatically know how to sing properly? I mean, there are absolutely some that are absolutely spot on, but on the whole, it doesn't happen. Now I'm just looking at what do we got here. Yeah, my brother spent over half life. Where are we here? Yeah, Lou's going, had 2 open heart surgeries and still have aortic valve issues. Pretty sure I'm already dead and this is the next level. Yeah, that's kind of an annoyance when you wonder about that. And literally, I'm not sure who football's gone. Was he from the U.S.? Gotta ask you, football, because maybe it was listed up higher. I don't know, but was who from the U.S.? Okay, yeah, my parents spent a staggering amount of time in the hospital. Oh, in all honesty, no. He's from right up here in Kelowna, BC. Now, do understand, he told me I was the rude one. Right. He told me I was the rude one that should be apologizing to him because I had been rude to him. And I was sort of looking at it going, it is possible I was, but I just don't see, I mean, there are, the sad reality there of football is there are rude people all over the world. Myself, I consider myself, I do my best to be polite, but I'm absolutely politically incorrect and blunt. Okay, now I will see if I can find the article here, but where are we sitting here? Boy, tonight has just gone by in one heck of a hurry. So, hey, would you look at that? We got 24 thumbs up in the room tonight. I love it. Thank you so much, guys, for doing that. What do we got here? No, they really aren't. Canadians on the whole we get some real winners up here, don't get me wrong. But I've run into winners from all over the world. Let's see, tomorrow is the 13th. Oh, okay. Couple of things here, guys. Tomorrow we are looking at, we're getting down to the tail end here. Okay. I appreciate that, Ken. Tomorrow we will be talking about alien technology. Now, can I go into the exact specs on how to build it? Not a prayer. But will I explain some of these technological pieces as best I can? The answer is yes. You're going to have to deal with really, really pathetic artwork. Okay. I will eventually get it done properly. But, with that in mind, I was going to be doing the quantum subquantum connection. I will have to reschedule that one because otherwise I shove everything down line. So we're just going to have to work around it. But with that in mind, we are hitting the 2-hour mark here. We are hitting. I started early. I'm looking at the wrong tab here. Yeah, I'm looking at the clock. So let's stop myself before I shut down. Okay, and the reality of it is that when you get an idea in your head, okay, and this applies to any creative work, I would love to see people putting more effort into creativity instead of creative ways of complaining, which I'm seeing way, way, way too much of. I've warned people, if you're asking for me to be politically correct, probably not the right question. Let's just see how well these guys worked out. Now this, like I said, this guy will give you an idea. This is the figure I'm using for representing, Kieslak, who is the prime antagonist, the primary antagonist for the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Now, this chap literally comes into existence at the beginning of the storyline. Okay, and then disappears for a while. Then, so we've got that one. That one's still wet. This neat little chap, you don't... Oh, shoot, I gotta do that. I will bring that out. As a matter of fact, note to self, I've got to grab some of the other critters that you'll find in the Yldrbacian Chronicles that are... Like I said, I wrote the Yldrbacian Chronicles as a gamer for gamers. Hey, world, if you're still here, you recognize this little chap? It's a lousy paint job, I know that. I was aiming for having him black and white and decided to do a light brush on him. Okay, but these guys are... I do have a different name for them. Bingo. If I can find the article, I've got a real neat piece I think you'll get a kick out of, assuming that you're in to listen. But yeah, what I was aiming for was to just get the black feathers and the white show up by just brushing it lightly. Didn't quite work out as well as I would like, but let's face it. Okay. Where do we got? YJ's going, I'm very direct and speak my mind, and it's often taken as rude, but I just don't have the patience to sugarcoat the truth so people's fragile feelings aren't hurt. I could not say that much better, honestly, YJ. I do warn people, okay, that if you're asking me a question, I will be honest. I won't guarantee you'll like what I have to say. That's an interesting way of looking at it. YJ's just saying, in my opinion, the biggest form of respect is blunt honesty. The way I figure it, when I'm talking to people, whether I'm talking to adults or I'm talking to kids, I start off using the language that actually means what it means. I will downplay it or simplify it if I have to. Luna's going, the biorhythm machine at the roller rink said I would live this many years. Yeah, I wonder if it took into consideration some of the realities of life. I got told, I was diagnosed dead at 5. The doctors just looked at me and went, nope, you're done. Okay. And I went, okay, well, I'm not going to agree with you, so I'm going to leave. But, guys, I do have to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. And let me just do one thing before I actually stick my foot in my mouth completely here. Let us hit recycle on that and see what we're looking at. If you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Absolutely, if you haven't done so, do subscribe to the channel if you would, please. That would be really appreciated. And then share the daylights out of it. Now, I will be back here in about an hour. Okay. I will be back here in about an hour to read the prologue and the first part of chapter 1 of the Birth of the Wolfpack. So thank you so much for joining me. And I will see, and as many of you as care to drop in, I will see you in about an hour. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.